Hi everyone, this is Char, and in this video, I'm gonna do a review of Lewis, who is quite an old range hero, but is still really good even to this day, despite the fact that he is one of the older range heroes available in this game. Lewis is also now available in the police station. In the past, you can only get him by buying the daily boost, which I think is quite surprising from my perspective because usually IGG only gives away bad free heroes. So I'm shocked they gave away a hero that is between A to S tier for free, which is ridiculous. But let's take a look at the skills and find out how good Lewis really is. So the first thing I want to mention is his hero talent tree is skills. And this is how I personally set it up. And the reason why I did that is I want to focus a lot on rage skill, which is what Lewis is all about. I might change the talent tree in the future, but at this time, I think this one suits what I need to do. I don't normally put Lewis as the leader hero. He's usually the assistant one when I use him. But if I do use him for the purpose of having him as a leader, and if it's for the purpose of garrison, then I might allocate more points here on the garrison side of the talent tree, such as this one right here. But for now, I'm going to leave it as is. His first skill is called To Hell, which is a rage skill that deals damage to up to 5 enemy squads in a circular area. And this is because this is awakened. So when you awaken Lewis, it enhances to Hell and will deal damage to up to 5 enemy squads in a circular area with a damage factor of 12,000 as opposed to just 10,000, and circular area as opposed to just fan shaped area. Damage taken by each enemy squad reduces by 15% for every additional squad target enemy squad. So in my opinion, this is fairly low skill damage for a range, which is quite fair as Lewis is an older hero. But despite the fact that his rage skill damage is quite low, the circular area of effect is still quite good and still quite useful. And I'll kind of mention later how, despite having a lower skill damage, he is still a monster when it comes to dealing damage. His next skill is called Massacre Concerto, which is a passive skill that increases skill damage by up to 30%. So that's quite high, even to today's standards. Increases the HP of ranged squads by up to 10% when doing garrison. That part is quite low, and I don't like the fact that it's only when he does garrison. So that part is getting a bit dated, which makes sense as Lewis is an older hero. His next skill is called Deadly Beat, which is a passive skill that increases ranged squad attack by up to 30%. This one is just okay. Newer heroes tend to have a higher range squad attack boost, but this is still satisfactory. His fourth skill, and in my opinion one of the best skill that he has, is Sonata of Sorrow, which is a passive skill where squads gain an additional 25 rage when using basic attacks. This is why Lewis is an insane rage regenerating monster. Whoever partners up with Lewis, whether that be other range heroes or even infantry, will crank out so much rage in a short amount of time and deal a huge amount of damage. I personally like using Lewis with Julia for the purpose of doing counter rallies as well as doing antipede. They are also amazing in the arena as well as in that beast campaign. If the range squad is not being attacked, I would say Julia and Lewis can dish out the most amount of damage, but as you know, in this game, range tends to get attacked first. So if you do use Julia and Lewis together in the field and they get swarmed, they're not gonna last as long as if Julia partnered up with a different hero. So Lewis, in my opinion, is not the best in the field just because he will get killed fairly easily compared to other heroes. Now, if you get his skin, which is overpriced in my opinion, but if you are fighting at a higher bracket, you do need to get the skin because you need to get every advantage that you get. So his first skill, the damage factor will go from 10,000 to 11,000, which is a slight upgrade. There is also a 90% chance to enter the ferocious state for 3 seconds. The ferocious state increases squad attack by 10% and deals 10% more damage to squads with less than 20% of squad size. So at first glance, it looks like that dealing 10% more damage to squads with less than 20% of squad size seems fairly useless, but actually the main purpose of this, in my opinion, is sometimes when you have a rally and garrison war between towers, people tend to cancel their rally when their rally is almost dead. But if Lewis enters a ferocious state and deals more damage, there is actually a higher chance that he can finish off that rally before they get a chance to cancel. So I would say that would be the big benefit of this skin skill. Second skill has no change whatsoever, but his third skill, called Bloody Banquet, which replaces Deadly Beat, the biggest change here is when in a ferocious state, each basic attack has a 40% chance to heal wounded units. So as you can see, when he does garrison, that healing factor will help quite a bit, especially when stacked with other heroes like Ethan. And if you transcend Ethan, he gets a healing factor. So Ethan's healing factor can stack with Lewis's skin's healing factor, and that can help make or break a garrison when you put them together. Fourth skill has no change whatsoever, but when you awaken Lewis and he has the skin, it will replace Perfect Curtain, and the skill is now going to be called Blood Covenant. And after you awaken him, the biggest change is that it will deal damage to up to 5 enemy squads in a circular area with a damage factor of now 13,000. And 13,000 is a nice upgrade because it is more aligned to what is seen today, even though it's still on the lower side. But don't forget that he is a rage regenerating monster, so he can fire his rage skill more frequently than other heroes. So this is still quite decent in my opinion. Damage taken by each enemy squad reduces by 15% for every additional target enemy squad. Also enters the ferocious state for 3 seconds. So that second part is kind of the same as his first skill right here. So the biggest change here is mainly the damage factor. So for the average player, I don't recommend getting the skin. I think it's actually a ripoff, but if you are a whale, you definitely need to get that skin to get that slight edge. I would say Lewis's best partner for the purpose of doing counter rallies or for the arena as well as beast campaigns is going to be Julia. Lewis is also a garrison hero, so I would say if you don't have Ethan available, then Lewis would actually pair up fairly well with Victor Blackwood. And in the past, Lewis and Victor was actually what was used for the purpose of doing range garrison. Nowadays, if you were to use Lewis for garrison, then you definitely need to pair him up with Ethan, who is now the top dog when it comes to doing range garrison. Lewis is also pretty good with Sophie because Sophie can fire her skill damage quite fast as it only requires 90 rage skill. So if you combine her with Lewis, they're going to be insane at firing a lot of rage skill in a short amount of time. So I would say those would be the best partners for Lewis if you were to use him in your range lineup. In my opinion, since they release Ethan and Sophie, I actually think that Lewis is starting to lose his spot a little bit. So at this current time, I'm not sure if he's still an S tier hero, but he's definitely between A to S tier as he is still high utility. He's still really good. And one of the reasons why I would potentially downgrade him from S tier to A tier is mainly because I don't think Lewis is actually the best range garrison hero anymore. I think Ethan's best partner for the purpose of doing range garrison is actually Sophie. So in which case, Lewis is starting to lose his spot when it comes to being the best at an important role. So he's no longer the best for the purpose of garrison. He's no longer the best for the purpose of rally because Julian Bard is the best combination for rally. In the field, I would say Sophie and Lynn would be a better combination. So in my opinion, Lewis is still really good, but the area where he is the best in is starting to become smaller, which has narrowed down to counter rally, the arena, and the beast campaign. Anyways, that's about it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.